Hello and welcome to another episode of Wheel of Horror, the podcast where two best friends spin a wheel once a week. It chooses the horror film and they discuss it. Today we're talking about 1981's Madman, which was directed by Joe Giannone. I'm your co-host Alec.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Madman.
Yeah. This movie is a masterpiece. It should be called Masterpiece Madman.
I mean, it's a masterpiece if you have no sense of hearing or sight.
Just hit in the head with a brick when you were a kid.
Okay. Where did you even hear about that? I've never even heard of this movie.
Listen. It didn't sound that bad. It was an 80s movie. It was about a sleepaway camp thing. And I looked up summer movies, and this made some list of like the best summer horror movies. I don't know who the hell made that list.
I saw online it was like considered like number 68 on like randomasswebsite.com's top 100. It was like not a real, it wasn't like Fangoria.
I'll have to look up exactly where I heard of this, but I'm not mad I watched it, but I'm never watching this again as long as I'm breathing on this earth.
Yeah, this was super bad.
It was hard to get through.
It was.
It was hard.
It's so short. It's like an hour and 27 minutes and it is like 5 hours. It's
Tubi, did you watch it on Tubi?
yeah.
And you get those like ads in Spanish and all other kinds of like crazy ads and
Yeah, the ads were a nice break from the film, to be honest with you. Like,
like Cascade ads. It's like, oh, that's nice. He's cleaning his dishes. Like
yeah, I was like, I'd rather watch a Febreze commercial than this, but yikes. Yeah, so this is a very early 80s slasher movie, came out in 1981.
Yeah, let me give you the quick breakdown. Came out October 30th, 1981, so the day before Halloween. Hour 28, like you just said. Its budget was $350,000.
Insane.
For 1981, that's $1.3 million today. I'm like, okay, that is a good budget for this kind of film, and I don't know if it hit the mark. The box office, it made 1.3 million. I don't know how. And then the Rotten Critic score was 33, Rotten Audience 37. That feels right.
I think that's a little high, to be honest.
That's a little generous. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is like it's so derivative, but it's so immediately derivative. I mean, it basically is just it takes like The Fog and Friday the 13th, which both came out in 1980, and kind of mushes them together, and then everything else is just worse. I mean, everything is worse in this movie. I did try and think of a few positives, which we'll get into, but yeah, it takes place at a summer camp. It's 1981. People telling stories around a campfire about another crazy guy that lived in the neighborhood or whatever. So it's very much like Friday the 13th, but it's kind of like the killer is a little bit more like Victor Crowley, I guess. Like he's got an axe.
Exactly what I was thinking of. It reminded me a lot of Hatchet.
It's so much worse.
Yeah, Hatchet's way better, and it's not because of the time. It's just a better thought out movie.
Yeah, this one it's about a guy named Madman Mars, and it's kind of like the same thing that happened in a Amityville Horror, where a guy just kills his whole family when they're sleeping. That this madman does that, then goes to the local bar, and he admits that he kills his family. I think he puts the hatchet or whatever on the table of the bar. The townspeople hang him to kill him for doing that, and then when they come in the morning, his body's gone and his family's bodies are gone. So that's like what kicks off the movie. I guess while they're doing it's a camp, so they're telling ghost stories, but I guess what happens is while they're telling the story, it like resurrects him or something like that.
If you say his name, if you say Madman Mars above a whisper in the woods, he'll show up. And that kid Richie was like, Madman Mars, where are you? Come out. So that was above a whisper. I think that was the thing.
That's so dumb.
Kind of like a Bloody Mary. Like if you say this in front of a mirror, if
Yeah.
you say his name in the woods above a whisper.
This was like that Italian kid though, the like Long Island Italian kid, just like, what are you talking about? Madman Moss, he's here. Like he's gonna fuck with me and my family. You know what? I'm gonna whip a rock at his house.
Disrespecting my family?
Yeah, and he just he yells his name, throws a rock at the house. Which also, how close is his house to the campfire?
They are 50 yards away from this house.
Why is this house even still there?
That doesn't feel like you're like on a campfire in the woods. It feels like you're in someone's backyard.
Yeah, they're literally like that guy's house, which is like 50 feet away from us, that dilapidated old house. The guy killed his wife and kids, and we don't know where he is. He could be in there, we don't know. But like, let's set up a campfire and tell the story of him right next to his house. Don't even know why that house is still standing. But yeah, the kid says his name and throws a rock at the window.
Two other things, yeah, two other things before that. The title card, when it said like at a summer camp at a cabin in the woods or whatever, a camp for gifted children. Did you get that?
Yeah, but like
What made
what?
them gifted?
No, I've no fucking, we barely even see the kids.
Is it like X-Men?
I don't know. Literally until like the last 5 minutes, I forgot there were kids at this camp. They don't have, there's no kids until the very end.
They're all counselors. I think it's the at the end of the camp, like probably cleaning up the camp and stuff.
No, there were kids. There were kids at the very end
But they
because
why did they why, who's watching the kids?
I don't know. Because I think in the very beginning, there were kids that were getting told the stories. They put them to bed. And then this night is what happens after the kids are
Yeah,
asleep.
but there's like 20 counselors and like four kids.
Yeah, yeah, they did a terrible job having this be like, oh, this because Friday the 13th is like, okay, they're setting up for the week when the kids are coming back. Jason or Pamela Voorhees is killing the counselors because they let her son drown, okay?
It's way better plot.
This one's just like, yeah, we're at a camp. There's like six kids here. We never see them. We're gonna tell a scary ghost story. That ghost story brings the guy back from the dead, and he's gonna kill everybody, and that's the movie. There are kids at the camp, and there's also just like in Friday the 13th, there's like this older guy that's like running the camp or whatever, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna go into town and get drunk or whatever. And he just leaves, just like in Friday the 13th, and the camp counselors are just there by themselves. And like I'm not saying that Friday the 13th has masterpiece of character arcs and dialogue and everything like that, but it's Shakespeare compared to this.
No, but like yeah, exactly. And there's also the part of, Friday the 13th is like other people in the town are saying like they shouldn't open that camp,
Right.
which is a great layer on top. This is missing all of the fun additional layers to that.
They just say like, hey, there's a killer in the town and we're at the camp. Yeah, you're right. We never go into the town. We never meet anybody else. It's like, oh yeah, I remember when Old Man Mars did that. Like nobody says that.
Who's the head, the Max, the guy telling the story?
I don't even there like isn't a lead in this movie.
No, I would say
The blonde
the
girl,
blonde was probably the most screen time, and then Richie, who is like, dude,
the entire movie is that guy's fault. He obviously says the name loud, breaks the window, and then he's the reason that everybody's like, hey, where's like Johnny or whatever? It's like, I'll go out by myself and look for him. You guys wait here. If I'm not back in 20 minutes, send somebody else out. And that's the rest of the movie.
yeah.
Is like one person goes out to look for this Johnny guy. He doesn't come back. They send another person out. They find the dead body. They get killed. They send another. It's just like, it's so repetitive and it's not interesting.
And the shots, bro, the shots dragged on. Like there was times with flashlights when she's going around in the cabin, like towards the end of the movie. I'm like, all right, like can we wrap it up? Like the pace is terrible.
The pace, the dialogue. I mean, it's like a very bad Friday the 13th film. Just very bad and doesn't have the substance or the plot, the justification of the plot to back it up. It doesn't exist. So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the story. I mean, literally, like this one guy goes into the house by himself. He thinks he sees a guy in the tree as they're all going back to the camp, and he's like, "What was that? You know what? I'm gonna go look in that guy's house right now."
When they go back to the camp and they all like kind of like get in line, like they're gonna, it was like ridiculous.
Yeah, so that's ridiculous, but like it's even more ridiculous that this kid's like, I'm gonna go into that house right now by myself. And he just leaves the group and goes into that house by himself. He doesn't find anything at first, but he's just walking around this old dilapidated house. And everybody else gets back to camp. They're kind of like, hey, like, because there's that other guy, TP. His name is fucking TP. And he's like kind of a douchebag at the fire or whatever. He's just like, oh, these kids love scary stories. And I fucking, I want to have sex with you tonight. And she's just like, okay, like who are you? And they go back to the camp, and I will say the one line that I was like, okay, is when the guy's like, hey, I'd like to apologize to everybody for the way that I behaved and the way that I've been treating my girlfriend, and I was embarrassed for her myself, and I'm embarrassed that you guys had to witness that, and I'd like to apologize. And I was like, wow, that that seems like kind of a good thing. I don't know, like the writing was pretty good there, like real, I guess.
For a second. Yeah.
Yeah, but then they go and and then his blonde girlfriend who was in Dawn of the Dead, she forgives him. She's like, "Oh, TP, that's just classic TP." And they go into the hot tub and they have like a softcore porno hot tub scene with like the fucking worst song of all time.
And it was like Little Mermaid and the rowboat where they're just like spinning around each other, and I'm getting dizzy watching it.
It was horrible. And it's like this movie got rated R, obviously, probably for the violence, but they had like one tiny flash of boobs. And I'm like, if you're gonna show the boobs, show the boobs. Don't do like half a boob going into the water. And they're like, okay, we got our nudity quota out of the way. And then we get to see TP's big hairy ass crawling. Just
I
like,
know, I know. What is he? Is he the chef? What was he?
I have no fucking clue. I don't know. Is it, I assume they're all counselors. I don't know.
And his name is TP probably because of toilet paper, right?
I mean, maybe it's like Thomas Pritchard or Thomas Paul.
TP. When I think of TP, I think of toilet paper. It's like he seems like a to guy named toilet paper.
Yeah, like my boss's name is JP, and I'm like, that's cool, that's
That's
fine.
different.
But TP, yeah, dude, that's like dumbest nickname ever. Yeah, so he's kind of a scumbag, but he tries to redeem himself, and I think he's the first one to get killed. I think.
He was the first guy to get killed. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, we just fucked in the hot tub. Let's go look for Johnny. I'll be right back.
He was introduced like a minute ago. But yeah, keep going.
Yeah, so he goes to look for TP, and I guess this is the best kill in the movie. He gets like pushed on the ground. He gets a noose put around his neck, and for some reason he can't get the noose off. And then Madman Mars is able to pull the rope over a tree and choke him to death. I don't know why he couldn't get the noose off his neck when TP or when Madman was going to put the rope around the tree, but fuck me, right? So then he breaks his neck, kills him, and leaves his body there, which I guess is like, okay, this is how the townspeople try to kill Madman Mars. This is what Madman Mars is doing to these people. I don't know.
Wish I had the answer.
I will say TP's death face kind of looked good when his neck snapped and he's like, wow, and his eyes like went up. Like that looked decent.
I agree with that. Yeah, it was 7 out of 10 for this movie. The best
Yeah.
kill by far.
And then I guess the music is it's very reminiscent of like a really cheap 70s movie. And it kind of sounds like a much worse like Halloween 2, like when he stabs people, like the overblown synthesizer sound a little bit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't hate that. I thought the sound design was pretty good. When like stuff would get like chopped and the axe would hit, I always thought that was pretty decent.
Yeah. And I was thinking about it because like this came out in 1981. This is like kind of the height of the slasher 80s craze, like 81, 82, 83. And Friday the 13th just came out, The Fog and Prom Night. There's a lot of movies that are scary in the early 80s. Yeah, because I mean Halloween 2 is coming out the same night. Everybody loved Halloween. Halloween is essentially what made Friday the 13th and made all of these popular slasher films. So of course you're gonna go see the sequel to that, not this thing. But honestly, like I can't even remember anything more specific about this movie. I mean, it really is just like, hey, where's TP? It's like, I'll go look for him. I'll be right back. He goes, hey, what TP's body's getting hung there? And all of a sudden that person gets killed. And that's literally it. Like for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, it was the Mars too. Madman Mars walking around. He's like a Sasquatch guy. Reminds me like a big troll.
The sound effects he made were horrible. It was like cheap grunt, like dog grunts and stuff that they just clearly put, ADR'd it over. It sounded awful.
Yeah, he sounded like an animal more than a person, which I think was the idea to make him scary, which was not.
It didn't work because there's no explanation for why he is the way he is, you know?
The blonde girl with her friend, I forgot Betty or something, when they were like together in the cabin and they're talking about men, and she's like, "Oh, men, can't live with them, can't live without them." That whole like dialogue there was like, I was like, "Oh my God, this is so bad." Like this script is
Yeah.
Oscar worthy.
Yeah. So I guess that leads to like more killing, basically. I mean, there's two decapitations in this movie, so I wouldn't be surprised if they just use the same headless body. And they're like, okay, put girl clothes on it.
Probably, yeah. That's probably. I mean, they all look kind of the same. Yeah,
Yeah.
put a blonde wig on it. Yeah.
I didn't even like know what happened. Like the editing was so fucked up, but like that one girl who's like, my car won't start. Let me go see, let me look inside of here. And all of a sudden he like slams her head under the car hood. I didn't know what happened. Like,
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, it was, I got confused too a couple times. I was like, wait, what? Like, did she get thrown out of the car? What happened?
yeah, they like didn't make the kills look like you didn't know what actually happened.
How about when the guy gets like pulled out of the car And then like 2 seconds later, he's at the top of the hill with the guy like bench pressing him over his shoulders. I was like, how do you get up there with him that
Yeah.
fast? That was like 2 seconds.
Dude, I thought when that was happening, I thought he was gonna snap that guy's body in half, and I was like, okay, that would have been sick. Of course they don't do that.
No, they didn't like what did he kill him? I don't even remember. He was just like holding him above his head. He's like, ah, and he just died.
All the kills are pretty unfair. Like, there's not a memorable kill. There's not like the Kevin Bacon getting stabbed through the neck with an arrow. Like, there's none of that you're like, oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, this doesn't have anything, and I mean, I think the thing that I enjoyed the most is the blonde girl at the end. She's got a shotgun. She calls the owner of the camp. She's like, "Hey, you better get back here. There's blood everywhere." The guy's like, "What are you talking?" He's like screaming in the phone that scene. He's like, "What are you talking about?"
There's blood everywhere, more like people are dead.
Yeah, everyone's dead but me. So she gets the camp counselors, the like one remaining camp counselor and all the kids, and she's like, "Get in the pickup truck and get out of here. I'll handle it." It's like, why? Go with them. So she's like, "I'll kill this guy." So she goes chasing him with a shotgun, walking around the camp, and I laugh pretty hard where she's aiming at the window, and all of a sudden that one girl who you thought was dead, but I guess she got like an axe to the chest.
I know.
She puts her head up against the window, and the girl just shoots her. She's like, "Oh my God, Cindy!"
Oh man. And then Mars is like walking to the side of her. It's like, oh man, that's brutal.
He's like, "Dude, you shot your friend?" Yeah, there's so many
Uh,
times where she just hears a noise and shoots. She doesn't even look. And yeah, so she kills her friend who was gonna die anyways, probably.
she the one who got stabbed through the chest, or was it the cargo? Like which
No, she got yeah, the cargo got decapitated, so seven not her. Which I love too because her head is still in the fucking like next to the engine, and they shut her head in, and they're like, "All right, let's go." I'm like, "Take your friend's head out of the fucking car." They leave her head inside of the car, and they just drive away. Oh man. Yeah, so she shoots her friend and then finally she just gets into it. Like I thought she was gonna survive this girl because you're like, okay, well, it is an 80s slasher movie. Final girl trope is in its heyday. No, this girl gets killed, you know?
one survivor's the asshole.
Yeah, the one guy that set this whole thing into, the chain of events off is the only one that survives, but the blonde girl doesn't do anything. She like has the gun. Madman Mars walks up, like knocks the gun out of her hands, grabs her, drags her back to his house, and just stabs her into the wall.
Slashes her face, and then yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, cuts her face and then basically pulls the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and just pushes her into a hook. And then this is the dumbest thing I've like ever seen in my life. She's dead. She's got a hook in her back and she's being held up by her body weight with a hook in her back. And she takes out a little pocket knife and she stabs him in the back. And he's like, "Ah!" And he freaks out.
It's like a little knife. It was like a Joker knife. It's like very small.
It's like nothing. Okay. If this was Jason, I don't even think he would have felt it. But so this guy's freaking out. He knocks a candle over. The candle falls on the ground, catches on some hay, and the entire building burns down. And it's just like, that would never fucking happen.
You see the body of the parents or the family he killed.
We see everybody. All of the other teens are down there against the wall too. Like you see the other teen kids that I don't know, he took their bodies and stabbed.
Plus the old bodies of his family that he killed that were missing. So he's always kept those
So
there.
guess what? They're like, "We don't know what happened to him. He's in his house."
Yeah. Has anyone looked in the house? The authorities?
Dude, it's like we're gonna open a camp next door to this house where a guy murdered his family and ran away.
Tale as old as time.
So unbelievably dumb. But yeah, so the one scene that we forgot is like Johnny or whatever, the kid that sets all of this off when he goes into the house,
Richie, Johnny, Bobby, Frankie.
Ralph Macchio, whatever his name was. And he goes into the basement and he sees all of the bodies up against the wall. We don't see that. We just see his face where he's like, "What? What is this?" And then nothing. We never see it. And then at the end we finally see that yeah, it's all of his family and friends and they're all their bodies there. And so he runs out into the middle of the street and he sees the drunk owner like, "Hey, Richie, what are you doing? What are you doing?"
Max, which is similar to Mars, and I always thought he might be the killer from the beginning, but nope, that wasn't it.
And he's like, "What happened? I heard there's blood at the camp." And he's like, "Dude, the Madman Boss is real, boss." And he's like, "It is." And then the movie just ends. It ends with Eric.
I don't know, Max. You told us this story, and you've been running this camp for 30 fucking years. Is it real or not? Like,
He's like, "I don't know. I don't know."
yes,
But
why did what happened?
the honestly laughing out loud. You've seen Cannibal the musical, right?
It was like that. It was like that.
The song at the end is literally the song that the French trappers sing in Cannibal the Musical, where it's like, "You her and I go hunting with my knife." It was like the worst song, the worst singing. It's like the legend of Madman Mars. It was awful.
Into the woods, and then you meet the Mars Man, the Madman.
Oh my God. Yeah. This is definitely up there in like the worst ones we've covered.
It has to be one of the top five worst we've done. And that's including Ernest movies. I'm kidding.
Well, it's odd because usually the bad movies that we cover came out within the last like 20 years. This is the first one we've done that came out like 43 years ago.
I mean, Troll 2. Troll 2 is a cult classic as a joke.
That came out in 1990 though.
I know, but this is so bad. Like for trying as hard as it did.
Because you can overlook older movies and be like, oh, okay, like they're limited budget, like they didn't have things to do, whatever. This movie, like, it was bad for the time too.
Yeah, this had like back then $1 million budget at least, which, put that in perspective.
Well, the only reason this movie is even, I mean, I've never heard of it until this week, but the fact that this movie is even remotely mentioned and they released like a 4K in 2022 is because it was kind of a cult film at drive-in movie theaters.
Oh, then they wouldn't pay attention. They'd just be making out. That was what they would do. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like a double feature that was paired with a lot of other movies kind of throughout the 80s. So it just kept kind of trickling in money.
It's like I actually want to pay attention to Halloween too. How this movie, let's just make out. That's probably what it was.
Yeah, I mean, literally, if they're like, "Hey, it's Halloween 2 and Madman Max or whatever," and you're just like, "Oh, let's see Halloween 2," and then you start the next one, you're like, "Okay, yeah, let's make out now."
All right, question for you. Question for you, and then we can wrap up. We don't need to harp on this all night. 6-year-old Alec, would he be scared of this film?
Probably not. Well, I mean, I think I would be more afraid while I was watching it, and then when it was over, I'd be like, "That was pretty bad." But like
Yeah.
not knowing what was gonna come, I think that would have kept me on the edge of my seat.
I know for a fact 7-year-old Eric would not be scared, but I was thinking 6-year-old Eric probably could have been scared, but seven, definitely totally like this is a joke.
I think when I was younger, though, like I would watch horror movies like this or Scream or I Know What You Did Last Summer, that kind of stuff, and try and imagine it was like me, you, Mike, like my friends trying to survive this killer and like imagining they were in the woods, like near my house. Like, so I would do stuff like that. This movie might have scared me, maybe a little, I don't know, but not now.
Yeah. I was like, I don't even think this movie would scare a child, is the point I'm trying to make.
I think once you get to be about 11, like you just be like, hey, this doesn't really make sense. And like, hey, they're pretty dumb. Like all these characters are just continuously being like, where's Martha? Where's Johnny? And then they just leave and don't come back. And nobody's like, yeah, it's just stupid. It's really stupid. Like Friday the 13th, at least it's like, okay, we're meeting these characters. They spend time during the day. We know why they're there. I mean, we know why these characters are here too, but like it just makes more sense at Friday the 13th that there's no camp counselors there and they're setting up the camp after there was a huge murder. This one's just like, whatever. Like there was a murder here, but we didn't care.
Yeah, yeah. Also, like if you ever saw someone watching this on the plane, you'd be like, that guy has issues. Like, unless they're doing a podcast on it like us. But
Well, this movie was based off of I think it's a Staten Island or a Long Island urban legend called Cropsey. Have you ever heard of this?
yeah, I saw that little reading about this. Yeah.
Well, I watched a documentary on it, dude, and the documentary's good. This sucks. The documentary on Cropsey is very good.
You watch this that right after you watch this?
No, I watched the Cropsey documentary maybe like a month ago, just randomly, and
That's wild. That's random.
because it's a really interesting story, and there are a ton of abandoned mental asylums on Staten Island, and there's people that live underground and stuff like that. That's what the documentary is about. And this movie apparently was going to be called Cropsey, was going to be based off that. But then another movie came out the same year called The Burning, which is also about Cropsey. And actually, that's the first movie that the Weinstein brothers ever produced. But that movie's similar to this. And I did watch a little bit behind the scenes footage from the director, who's never done anything else since this. But he basically said, we heard The Burning was coming out. We heard it was similar to ours. They sent us their script because it was coming out before ours. So they let us look at the script and make the changes to our script so it didn't get in trouble. And I was like, wow. So it's like, yes, we had to change the name of the killer, we had to change a bunch of details, but I don't think it fucking mattered, man, honestly.
I kind of read about it and I was like, I don't think this has anything to do with that urban legend story from
Barely.
yeah, nothing. So I don't know
No,
what the
no.
comparison is, to be honest.
No, no, I think it was just because these people, I think the creator Joey Giannone or whatever, I think he's from either Staten Island or Long Island, so it's just an urban legend that everybody in that area knows about. So I highly recommend the documentary. I think it's on Amazon right now. Yeah, very good Cropsey documentary, but this is bad. But it's sad because if this worked out and it was Cropsey, Cropsey could have been up there right with Jason and Freddy, it could have
Yeah.
been like a whole series of Cropsey and.
I wonder why they didn't just do that, maybe. I don't know.
I think the burning, I think they were going to sue them or whatever. I don't really know, but they had to change their script. But again, I mean, this is so bad that I don't really think it would have mattered. But is there one positive though? If you had to say like, hey, at least this has that going for it, what would it be?
I laughed a couple times. I mean, it brought me joy for a minute.
At what'd you laugh at?
I don't remember. Just like the guy is about to jog back to camp. He's like, "One, fall in." And I'm like, they're just gonna go all the way back to camp walking like that. That made me just like, kind of chuckle. Stuff like that.
Yeah. Because, yeah, there's nothing. There's really, I mean, the kills are not good. The music's not memorable. Like, the sound effects are kind of good, but the music is not good. The original songs are horrible. Like, the intro song, the outro song, and the sex scene song, all terrible.
I guess a positive is if like any like horror buff that I really didn't like came up to me and was like, "What movie would you recommend?" I'd recommend this one and not like be like, "Yeah, eat that movie, enjoy it. It sucks."
Yeah, every list that I've seen, or like anything I've seen about this movie, is basically just like if you're an 80s slasher completionist, then yeah. Otherwise, you're not gonna get anything from this. It's not like Sleepaway Camp where there's a huge twist at the end. Like, it's just not good. It's just not good. And I hate to be negative, especially on an 80s slasher movie, which I love those, but you gotta be honest.
Yeah, this was a me pick too, and I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
No, I mean, you don't have to apologize.
I thought it was like a summer camp fun killer. How bad could it be? How bad could it was bad, but no, yeah, we'll move on.
Yeah, it's funny too. Actually, it's not that funny, but the woman, the blonde woman, she was one of the leads in Dawn of the Dead, and that's a huge movie now, but in 1978, it didn't do great. But she did this movie, and she had to change her name because it was a non-union movie. So she's under a pseudonym in this film, which, dude, I I'm in the union, and if I do non-union stuff and it gets seen
Oh, you're screwed.
you're usually fined $50,000 and kicked out of the union. So like yeah, okay, you change your name. You can't change your face. So like if anybody saw this movie, they're like, wait, isn't that the woman from Dawn of the Dead? Like what wait. I guess you'd have to know if this
Wait,
was
isn't she union?
yeah, I mean the only people that would know are people in the industry if this was union or non-union, but that makes this an independent film. This is a non-union independent film.
Wish taxes were like that, where I could just change my name on my taxes and like, oh, I only made $20,000 this year.
Well,
That's what he made.
that's what actors have to do though. Like if you once you join the union, if somebody has your name, you have to change your name. Like that's why Michael J. Fox is Michael J. Fox. Like you cannot have the same name as somebody else in the union. So luckily nobody had my name, but if they did, I have to be like Alec G. Lawless. So
I know of a few friends that had, yeah, we both know.
yeah.
Like Jack.
Yeah, no, I know. My friend Jack changed his name and I knew him before he changed it, and he goes by his SAG name now when he introduced himself to people, and I'm like, this is too hard for me.
I was very confused for a while. I was like, what do you want to be? Who are you?
Yeah.
Tom Cruise.
Yeah, that's fake.
His name's not Tom Cruise.
No, his name's like Tom Johnson. Oh, I found the thing. So in 2017, the magazine Complex Magazine, which I've never heard of, they said that this was the 25th best slasher film of the 80s. So they're the only people that have given it any sort of like good job.
25 out of what?
I think 100.
Oh, well,
Yeah, is the
God bless those other 75.
yeah. So
God bless. How bad is number 100 then is what I want to
yeah,
know. What
seriously.
is number 100? Let's do that one. What is number 100? I want to do that one.
Yeah, actually, hold on really quick. Maybe it's out of 25, so let's say complex. Here we go. Oh, these people are crazy. Okay, first of all, Madman is number 28. Okay, it's the last. It's last. It's last.
It's 28 out of 28. Yeah, that adds up.
It's 28 out of 28. Yeah, so
That adds up now. I thought there's 75 other movies after this.
no, no. So okay, so the only people that have ever acknowledged this film for any sort of like, hey, this is worth watching out is a magazine called Complex, and they said it's the worst of the best. So I don't know. I don't even agree with that, but whatever. Yeah, we're done with this one.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. Let's stop. Like, I feel bad if the director's like, "Oh, they did a podcast on my movie. What are they
I
saying?"
know. That's the other thing. The only person that has a Wikipedia out of everybody,
Mars, right?
no, is Galen Ross, the blonde woman. She's the
That's
only
it.
person. No, the
Wow.
writer, the director, the producer, the cinematographer, the editor, the music, none of the other cast, no one has a Wikipedia except for this woman.
Everyone just changed their name after this movie.
I don't think anybody, I looked up a bunch of people. I don't think anybody did anything after this. Like, I'm not even kidding.
Oof.
Yeah, let's spin the wheel. We're done with it.
Let's spin it. Spinning. Teeths. Teeth.
Teeth, a 2005 classic. All right, Teeth. Yeah, this is that indie film about the vagina with teeth.
Yeah, we know. We all everyone knows what it's about.
I don't know if people do.
Have you seen it? I've never seen it.
Oh, I've seen it like 4 times. Yeah. Oh, this is a fun one. It's fucking weird, but all right. Well, everybody, thank you for suffering through Mad Men with us today, and we will see you all next week with Teeth.
I have to go to the bathroom so bad. I'll be back.
Say woo.
Woo! Yeah, I said woo. Woo!